How important is credit? Trying to get a home. It's probably super important, right?
Yes. Higher credit score, better interest rates. That's the main thing. So let's say you have a 800 credit score. You're going to have a much lower interest rate and pay a much lower payment. Not so good, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. No. So that does really matter. A 5% versus a 6% on an interest rate, that varies in the hundreds. So monthly. It can be monthly.
Yeah.
So let's say you can have a $1,000 mortgage or a $1,500 mortgage. Your insurance.
So the same house.
Same house.
Depending on your credit.
Depending on your credit, yes.
So credit.
That's worrisome sometimes. So I would say work on your credit if you can first.
Right. Hey, what's going on? It's another episode of the Joe Teel podcast. And like always, I have another great guest, Paloma, Quintana. What's going on?
Hi. Hello.
How you doing? You good?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You're a little nervous. We're gonna get past it.
Yes, sir. I'm a little bit nervous.
No, it's good. I'm excited to have you. I was sitting around and I was like, okay, what do I need to learn about this week? And I was like, I really feel like I don't know anything about real estate. So today you are the answer to my questions. And so we're going to get into it. Let's start off easy. How long have you been in real estate?
Real estate, a little bit over 10 years. Property management, 15.
All right. And what made you want to do that?
Worked at Remax as an assistant manager. Worked for some very good people.
Yeah.
They taught me a lot. Whenever they bought another company here in town, I stayed behind with somebody else. And then I decided to branch out on my own. And I really liked it ever since then.
What led you? Was there anything that led you to real estate, like to go get that first job originally, or?
I loved everything that I was being taught.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it. I love helping other people. With them, I did more property management than real estate. Then I got more into real estate whenever I started buying rental properties, investment properties. I started talking to other investors. And then from there, real estate really just stuck to me.
Yeah.
And so I've had a passion for it ever since.
Can you explain the difference between real estate and property management?
Real estate is like if you buy a single home residence that you're going to live in it forever and ever, or for the most part, people move every 5 years. Property management for investors is you strictly stick to investment properties that you're going to use for rentals. So it's like when you ask me, is it better to buy a home or rent? Depends on your situation.
Right.
So that's the difference. Whether you want to buy a home that you're going to live in for a very long time, or are you going to buy a rental property that you're strictly going to rent out for 10, 15 years, or using it for retirement or to put the kids through college.
Right.
That to me is the difference to me.
Yeah.
In property management and real estate, they go hand in hand. You have to have a license for it. But the difference is that property management, you exclusively stick to finding that investor tenants. Everything from checking backgrounds, credit checks, landlord verifications, you name it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And you get to see them for, let's say, a year or two or however long they stay. Real estate, once you sell that house,
that's
you get to see. Yeah, that's it. You either get to see them again in the store somewhere, or you check up on them, but that's it. And to me, property management has a more personal touch to it.
Right. I bet that's stressful though. Like the reoccurringness of it, like having to, but you solve a lot of problems though, huh?
I solve a lot of problems and every day is different.
Yeah.
So I actually like it a lot.
Is that how you stay motivated? Like,
oh yes,
you wake up and say,
absolutely.
Okay, what are we fixing today?
Yes. Or let me check my phone and see what today holds.
Yeah.
But every day is different.
Yeah.
I have never had a day that stays about the same.
Wow.
And to me, I mean, it's really easy. I manage a little bit over 150 doors.
150.
So, yes. Wow. And then we own some, me and my business partner. So I say pretty busy.
I bet it's cool to own them. I bet you got the inside hand on it, huh? To be able to.
Kind of.
Yeah.
kind of.
But no, that's cool. Let's see. If someone wanted to buy a home right now, what would you think the first thing they should do is?
Most definitely go to a lender, a bank, see what you qualify for. You could qualify for a $200,000 mortgage, or you can only qualify for a $100,000 mortgage. So I always ask people to please go to a bank first, a lender. That way I'm not showing you houses that are above your which you are not approved for. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You want to know what they need to tell you what their budget is.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, let's go look at these houses.
Yes.
That actually makes sense.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
gotcha.
I don't want to show you a $150,000 house, but you only got approved for $100,000.
Hey, take me to a mansion.
Yes. And
with
then
no intention. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you don't want to pay $2,000 on a mortgage that you can't afford when I can put you in something that's in your budget, if that makes any sense.
I always watch these shows, like the HGTV shows and stuff, and the jobs always, I know I already went left field, it's okay. Their job titles always trip me out, and their budget is so crazy. Like, it's like I train lizards for a living, and my budget is $700,000. How are you doing this? Do you think those shows are real?
I do.
You think so?
I think so.
All of them?
No, not all of them. A lot of it is just reality shows, but to keep it entertaining, but no. Yeah. But some of them, I have met people that have very out of this world expectations. And I'm like, ma'am, I can't put you in a home like that. That's not what you're pre-approved for.
Yeah.
And it takes a minute to kind of get them to understand that.
I tried to sell cars for a little bit when I was younger, and I couldn't do it. Yeah. And I feel like it's got to be kind of sort of similar, because you find their budget and then you try to get them in what fits for them and stuff. But I don't know. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But okay, so you said go to a lender first. Don't let me get distracted. Yes. That's how fast I get distracted. Go to the bank, figure out how much you can. So how important is credit into trying to get a home? It's probably super important, right?
Yes. Higher credit score, better interest rates. That's the main thing.
Can you explain that? Like simple.
Simple. So let's say you have a 800 credit score. You're going to have a much lower interest rate and pay a much lower payment. Not so good. You're going to pay a higher interest rate. No. So that does really matter. A 5% versus a 6% on an interest rate, that varies in the hundreds. So monthly. It can be monthly.
Yeah.
So let's say you can have a $1,000 mortgage or a $1,500 mortgage. Your insurance.
For the same house. Depending on your credit.
Depending on your credit, yes.
So credit. That makes sense.
That's worrisome sometimes. So I would say work on your credit if you can first.
Right.
And go to a lender. I always try to tell people, try to find a mortgage broker or work your local bank. I like credit unions a lot. They can usually tell you how to fix your credit, what needs to be fixed. Right. If you're able to fix it within 6 months to a year, wait a little bit longer. Get that credit score where you need it to be at before buying, because it does matter.
Yeah, because so mortgages, right? They're typically long, right? Like,
it can be 15, 20, 25-year mortgages, 30-year mortgages.
Yeah, so $1,000 a month for 30 years or $1,500 a month for 30 years is an insane difference, right?
It is very.
Yeah, and that would be the difference between how good your credit is when you get the process going.
Yep. So if you already know that your credit is bad, I'd strongly suggest you start working on it first.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you answered that for me. Can you explain like what is a mortgage? Like I think it's just the loan for the house, right? But is there basically more to it?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, for a lot of people that can't really afford to pay a house cash,
right?
Your only other option is to go get a mortgage at a bank.
Man, imagine buying a house cash. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's where you buy investment properties versus buying a house that you want to live in. But at the same time, you can also buy a $30,000 house and do all the work on it yourself and save having to go to the bank.
Yeah. And then you turn around, then
live in it for about 5 years and then rent it out.
Yeah. Don't you flip? You say you flip houses too as well?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that like you get a house for 30 and what you flip it for? What would you want to flip a house for? Like if you got it for 30, what would your goal be? So
I don't very, very rarely ever buy anything for 30,000. I try to keep it around 10 to 20,000.
Oh, wow.
Put about another 30,000 into it. We try to keep our cap rates around 12%. But the main thing that I focus on is I have investors that I sell back to. So I'm going to buy it, fix it up, have a renter in it before I sell it. And then I sell it back to the investors and I still get to manage the property. So it's kind of like a 3-stop shop. Yeah. And I have my own contractors, cleaning crew, lawn maintenance, electrician, plumber, all that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then that also helps when you're managing properties too, because when something goes wrong, you just call your same people to fix stuff, right?
Yes. And for the most part, my contractor will give me a year warranty the first year. Of course, if it's something that it's on his work. So that really helps my investors out a lot.
Okay. Can you get a house without credit? Like, can you get a house with bad credit?
Yes. Finding the right mortgage broker, yes, you can.
Yeah.
But let me rephrase that. You can't have, of course, a bankruptcy on there.
Yeah.
Or I have 10 repos or 2 repos. That would be very hard. But you can have a low credit score. And and still find you a mortgage broker that's willing to help you out. And if they can't, I do know 3 that will always tell you, hey, this is what you need to work on. Work on this first. Come back and see me in 6 months, and they will help you work on it.
So is a mortgage broker, is that the bank and credit unions, or is that something different?
Well, a bank will have like a loan officer that works strictly for them. Mortgage brokers are more, Kathy Crowder, for example. She's not necessarily a bank, but she's outside of a bank. I have a Stone Lake Mortgage as well. They're out there from Greenville, Texas. But they will help you find that route program for you. First-time home buyer assistance. So it works a little bit different.
So do most mortgages go through a bank, or do they go through a mortgage broker?
No, I mean, they go through a bank. I mean, at the end of the day, the mortgage broker is still going to find that bank that works for you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
will give you the loan.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. There's just so many different banks out there that will work with certain credit scores.
Right. Okay. I'm with you. Connecting the dots here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to get, let's say, getting a bunch of rent houses, they start paying for themselves, right?
Yes.
That's the goal, to where one pays for another, then you have 2, then you have 3, then you have 4,
exactly.
then eventually some of them are just profit, and then most of them are profit until you have 100 or whatever.
Yes.
And that's the goal?
Yes, sir. And everybody has a different strategy. I've seen that with different investors. But yes, the goal is to, now, of course, I would never recommend that you buy a $120,000 house and you're only going to get $1,300 on rent. I mean, my gosh, that's barely your mortgage, your interest, your insurance, and your taxes in that. There's not very much left over for you to put aside for repairs.
Right.
So those are usually, I don't dwell in too much into. Like I said, I'm trying to keep a buy all together in after repairs and everything being at maybe $80,000. And I've got to get a rent around $1,300, $1,400 a month.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that way it pays for itself and nothing comes out of your pocket. And you still have a little bit of money to put to the side in case of an emergency, repairs, HVAC, a new HVAC that you might need, or a new roof.
Man, yeah, I could see how that could be something out of nowhere. But there's also insurances and stuff to cover that, huh?
Yes. And I always strongly suggest for investors that have rental properties, make your tenants get renter's insurance. You'd be surprised how well renter's insurance will pay before your own insurance will pay.
Okay, so
I learned that the hard way.
So if they're renting from you, they need to get the insurance.
I highly suggest it, yes.
Yeah. And that way the insurance will fix it and you don't have to fix it.
No. It just depends.
It just depends, right.
Yes. But renter's insurance is always a very important thing to have.
Right.
I've had one case where someone fell on the back steps. They had an accident. They broke this hand. It went back like that. It's got a plate and 3 screws. And the investor's insurance denied it. I didn't ask them for specifics, but the renter's insurance that they were paying $10.82 a month on, they paid it. So
wow,
that tells you a lot.
For $10 a month. Yeah.
$10.82. Yes, sir.
Oh, so the prices of houses, right? This seems like it's just been going up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that is just going to keep happening more than likely? Or what do you think?
Most likely. I don't see them going down like they used to be 10 years ago.
Yeah. So was there a time where they dropped?
I wouldn't say they dropped, but there was a time when they were more affordable than they are now.
Yeah. What did COVID do to it? Did that play a big part in, did like real estate do anything weird during that time?
Honestly, I don't think so. Yeah, I know a lot of people say yes, but to me,
it just kept going.
It just kept going.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder to buy a house now than it used to be? Like, let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yes, to me personally, yes.
Yeah.
Because the economy has just gotten extremely worse to me. Everything's so expensive.
Right. Oh yeah.
That to me played a huge part in it. Back in the day, you could work at McDonald's and still buy a house, and nowadays you can't even do that.
Right. So one thing I hear people say all the time, they're like, well, I can't get approved for, to buy a house for $900. So I guess I'll just pay $1,500 in rent. Is that something I see like Facebook posts and stuff like that. What do you think about that?
I don't know their circumstances why they can't get approved for a house.
Yes.
Their credit must be that bad.
Okay, so you're thinking it's a credit thing.
It's got to be a credit thing.
Yeah. I saw that. That's just a random thing I saw
we do credit checks just like a bank will.
Yeah.
Only difference is what can you afford? And again, my circumstances are a little bit different. I rent more out to government assistance. So I don't really have an issue to where if I didn't, I'd require at least 3 times the rent, a stable job and rental history. I'm not sure what their circumstances are, why they would say that.
Yeah.
Maybe they just didn't find the right lender or someone that would help them work.
That's like a viral Facebook post. So I was just wondering if it obviously could be BS. Like they could just
I see them all the time as well.
Yeah.
But I think that they can afford to rent more because again, I don't think that they have if your HVAC breaks down, if you have a plumbing issue, you're already paying almost $200. That's a week of groceries. If you look at it like that versus your landlord that takes care of all that. Why would you not rent before you bought instead? Does that make sense?
Yeah. If they're covering the expenses and stuff, it almost
when you're a homeowner.
Yeah, for sure. You just gotta fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe see one guy out one time.
Have a plumbing issue. I'm telling you, as the landlord, I have one plumbing issue, and there's $250 right there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I pump septic tanks.
Exactly.
Septic tanks go out.
Yeah, that's a week of groceries right there, especially if you have kids. Your HVAC goes out, same thing.
Thousands,
especially if it goes out completely and you can't fix it.
Yeah.
That's being a homeowner. Now, on the landlord side of it, renting, it's always better because that's not your problem, unless you were the one that caused it. And I've never seen somebody cause an issue with completely wiping out an HVAC system. Does that make sense?
Right.
So to me, it's always better to rent.
So you think it's better to rent?
I can rent faster than I can sell. If that answers your question.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah.
What about, do you think there's like this, I know I done got off my questions. I'm sorry, but I just fall in my brain here. We do a lot of work and for landlords, right? They call us all the time the septic's gone and, fix it and stuff. And like the flush all kind of bad stuff and stuff like that. And I'll hear landlords say things like, renters don't treat things as well as like homeowners. What do you think about that? Is that true in your experience, or do you think that's just talk?
I think that's just talk.
Yeah.
I don't see, in a way, yes, in a way, no.
Right.
I think that if you're a good landlord since the beginning and you're very thorough with your leases and your handbooks, and you require them to treat it as if it was theirs, you have a different outcome.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's the difference living in a rental property than living in your own house? You're going to flush the same thing down the toilet. You're going to use the sink the same way.
Yeah, you're probably just going to tear everything up.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. But that's why y'all do inspections every other month. So.
Yeah. Also, y'all do inspection. So when you have people rent from you, how often do you inspect? You said every month?
Every other month. If you're changing out AC filters, yes. If you're changing out AC filters, depending on what kind of agreement you have with your owner, it all depends on that. Of course, if you have a single mom in a house with 3 kids, of course you're going to go out there and help her. If not, you at least check on them and say, hey, do you need your AC filter checked? Do you need it changed out? They'll usually report smoke alarms. You do your due diligence.
Right.
Once you do that, you avoid a lot of issues.
Yeah, then you're in the house for every 2 months. I think and then you could kind of
feel things out.
How's it going? Are they Sharpieing on the wall and like hanging off the ceiling fan and shit, or like
but you can pretty much tell how kids act too when you're looking at a house,
right?
So sure. if they're running everywhere and acting out and mom's not doing anything about it, you kind of get a taste of what they're going to be like as tenants.
Yes, right.
There's a lot more that goes into it, if that makes any sense.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. I bet that there's landlords that don't check as often, and eventually they go into these houses and like, oh my God, what happened?
Well, that's why you do landlord verifications and credit checks and double check and dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah. Do you think how accurate of a reflection do you think that is of a person? Because y'all are going off that to decide if you're going to do business together, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Right.
Because you can have no credit at all, and I can still get a good tenant. I can also see your credit, and if you explain to me what your situation was, what you went through, a bad divorce, you fell on bad times during COVID. A lot of people fell on bad times.
Right.
I will sit there and I will listen to your situation, and exceptions can be made.
Yeah, and you can read people and say, okay, this isn't just the credit. Just because they're credit bad doesn't mean that they're.
Yeah, a lot of people. Life happens.
Right.
In a lot of situations, life happens. And like I said again, divorces. You lose somebody that was half of your income. A lot of things just life.
Right.
Honestly, it just comes down to life happened. But I rent to felons. I rent to people that have never rented before. I rent to people that just need a second chance at life.
Yeah.
And those have been some of the best tenants. So yes and no. Their credit does. Now, of course, if you went out there and you returned 2 cars and it says repo versus you just saw that it wasn't during COVID where you just fell on bad times, that's a little bit different. Right. There I can't make very many exceptions.
Yeah.
But your credit score and what your credit looks like doesn't always define that person.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
So do you think you have I'm sure over time you've probably got good at reading people. You think you can tell like, okay,
yeah, pretty much.
this is a genuine person that just needs help.
Yes.
Or this is somebody that just mismanages money and that may be an issue.
You can pretty much tell.
Yeah.
you can tell.
You're making but at the end of the day, you do get to make the decision though. So you just find your way to decide, okay, I want to work with this person or this isn't the right deal. You have to like kind of let it, do you ever let people down? Like, no, this isn't going to work. I'm sure that happens, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is that tough?
No, not really.
Not really?
No, not really. Because I would rather do that than have to deal with a person for a year that we're just, vibes are off since the very beginning.
Right.
Your gut feelings just, you know what, this is just something doesn't sound right. Or you called a credit reference on there or the landlord and it turns out it was your auntie or your mom or your sister. If I catch you like that, yeah, it deals off pretty much.
Right. And so
you see crazy things in property management.
Oh, I'm sure. I can only imagine.
Yeah. I think I have more stories on property management than I would on real estate. Yeah. Real estate is very cut and easy. And I mean, it is what it is. Black and white as can be. Yeah. And property management.
Once we ask more questions at the end, remind me, I want to like, can you tell me a couple stories? We won't do it now. Like at the end, just like tell me a couple wild ones. You don't have to say no names or nothing like that.
We can do that.
Okay, cool. Okay. Because that sounds like fun. Yeah. Let's see. What are the biggest mistakes first-time home buyers make?
Buying a house out of their price range that they really couldn't afford just because they fell in love with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can see how that, yeah. It's like I've seen people buy cars that were like, yeah.
Yeah. Or buy a car that's more than their mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or pay the interest rate that's higher on the car than what you would have bought the house for. I understand less years, but come on now, that's just a car.
I had a buddy at the Army, and on the military base, he went off military base to a car lot that was right outside, and they see you coming, like they're like, oh, you're a private. He had like a 30-something% interest rate on a Camaro.
Oh my gosh.
And he was 19.
19.
And we're like, dude.
Trying to show off a Camaro.
Yeah. I was like, dude. They got you. Like our sergeants heard it and they're like, what are you doing? How? And
it's funny how it's easier to buy a car nowadays than it is a house.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You can afford to get a car and they'll let you probably get it easier than a house, but you won't let them buy a house. It doesn't make any sense.
How much money do I need to buy a house? Is 20% down? Is that necessary? Is that enough?
No, because I mean, you can always go FHA, VA. Or again, like I said a while ago, first-time home buyer assistance. There's different programs out there. Again, it's just talk to your lender. Your lender will be your biggest help. He will be the one that will offer you different options when it comes to that.
The lender. Now help me with that. Let me make sure.
Like your bank.
The bank. Okay, the bank is the lender. That makes sense. Yes. My wife is a loan processor. So she works with the loan.
With the loan department?
Yeah, with the loan department. So you think I know more about this, but I don't. What makes a house sell fast?
Location.
Yeah.
Yes, and well priced.
Right.
Yes, well priced.
So you're in charge of selling the house, but they want too much for it. That's tough, right?
Yes.
Or a bad area.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
You don't want to be in Beverly and try and list a house for $150,000 when you know it's not going to sell for that.
Right.
That's just a best example I can use right now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And you don't want to.
I'm sorry. I'm very, very, very honest and straightforward.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You got to be realistic. So you think pricing the house realistically, and then you said location. So, what are the hot spots here in town? Where's the best place to have a house here in Texarkana?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Tell me that?
No, not really. I prefer not to.
It's a secret, or you don't want your opinion out?
Just I don't want my opinion out there, and you have to be very careful as a realtor what you can and can't say.
Right. Okay. I don't want you to.
They'll come back and bite me in the butt. But I can tell you this: Genoa is very highly sought out.
Genoa,
yes. A lot of people like the old country setting, living. Anything past Kings Highway. I have a lot of inquiries out that way.
It's like being in the country is cool, but I'm glad that I'm not so far in the country that it takes like 30 or 40 minutes to get to town.
Yeah, like Falcon, Genoa, exactly.
Yeah, like I'm deep in Libriello in like a good part, and I can get anywhere I need to get in like 10 or 15 minutes still. But it is the country. Like there's nothing, I'm surrounded by woods and I love it.
Yeah.
And so I get it. Location. There's like I don't think this is something that's possible, but like I always thought about like getting all my friends together and buying like a mansion. Is that something that could happen?
I probably would not advise that you do that.
Yeah, hell no. But
yeah, exactly. Once you get ready to sell it, that would probably be a legal battle I would not want to go through.
Be fighting over
yes.
their corner of it, huh?
Exactly.
Give me all the downfalls of that just while I'm on this crazy dream of mine. I called it Friend House.
Why not do it?
Yeah, why not? Just tell me all the...
Because when you get ready to sell it, I guarantee you there's 4 of y'all. Every single one of them is going to have a different opinion on what it's worth.
Right.
Yes. And it will sit there for a long time and create a legal battle you don't want to go through.
No, that makes sense.
That's just my opinion.
Speaking of like where the house goes and stuff, do you deal with people like passing on and then like who gets the house and stuff like that? Is there ever...
My first year real estate was very hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons?
Yes. Just kids fighting over inheritance, who should get more, who should get less, who had more rights, who didn't. It's sad to see.
Yeah, that's sad. It seems like everybody like turns. That's kind of scary. That's kind of sad.
It is. You get to see how families really come together.
But a house is a big thing, though.
It is.
A house is a big thing.
It is a big thing.
It's the only thing separating us from
a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah.
Yes.
Should I fix up my house before selling, or should I sell it as is?
Depends. If it's a home that you lived in, or an investment property.
Yeah.
Again, that's where the question.
Let's say it's like my house.
Your house.
And I've lived here for a while.
It depends on what your budget is and if you can fix it, if you can afford to fix it.
Okay, yeah. Like, can I really put enough into it to make it make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Right.
If you need a $15,000 roof and you don't have $15,000 laying around.
Yeah, you just need to sell it as is.
Yeah. And of course, you always have to disclose it. So that's what seller's disclosures are for. If it's an investment property that you just inherited, you don't want it, you want to get rid of it, sell it as is.
Right.
Get your money and move on.
I like that.
Okay.
Do I actually need a real estate agent, or can I do it all by myself?
Your real estate agent will negotiate for you. She knows the contracts really well. You can do it yourself. But I always suggest that if you do find a realtor, find someone that has your best interests at heart, not just worried about their commission.
How could you find that? How would you know?
I'm not going to say necessarily reviews. Word of mouth sometimes.
Yeah, maybe hear from people that had a good experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
What have they done themselves? Do they own any properties? What are they heavy into?
Somebody could look at you and say, okay.
Oh, I'm very low key though. Yeah. I'm very, very low key.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went on your page and was like, no, look at all the stuff they've got though. So.
Well, it's something. Okay.
So I could tell from that there's like the social proof though. You know, like I know that she's about her business because I can tell just from your Facebook page. It's like, okay, she's managing all kind of stuff. She's probably somebody that could manage what I have going on.
Yes, sir. I mean, I manage everything from shotgun houses, if it's $400 a month, up to my highest is $3,000 a month. Wow. So if it's green and makes money, makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, what's a shotgun house? So is it a cheap house?
Cheap house, yes.
Yeah.
Like let's say, for example, Beverly or College Hill.
Right.
Probably someone that's been there 15 something years pays barely $400 a month, is on a fixed income. We call them shotgun houses.
Yeah.
But they're just.
And so you said a lot of yours are Section 8. That means that they're like, those are paid for though. And that's why you don't have to worry so much about rounding the money up. Is that what you were getting at?
No, a lot of them do have the rent is paid fully by government assistance.
Right.
But no, there's a lot of them that still pay a portion of their rent.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know how that worked.
But they're super cool people to work with. Right. I love them to death. Very, very, very down to earth, humble. Right. More respectful.
More respectful.
Yeah.
Probably more respectful than like the higher income sometimes is. What do you think?
They're just different.
Different?
They're different. Yes, sir.
I don't want to ask no question that makes you like answer crazy or nothing like that.
No, I said I can sit there and have an hour conversation with them and I won't shut up.
Yeah.
You know, they feel more like family, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
They're just.
There might be something to that. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah. But I like my Section 8 houses a lot. Yeah. You don't have to struggle to get your rent every month.
Yeah, that's
it's very, very cut and dry. To me, they do take care of your homes. To me, they do take care of your homes a whole lot better.
Yeah, riding around, like even just trying to get paid from construction can be crazy. Like, because we own construction, sometimes like there was this one time where we had a check bounce because somebody wrote us a check that bounced. And we literally, we called the bank and we're like, hey, we're waiting on 6 people to pay us. There's like if everyone could pay us today, we'd be up like 60 grand. So you just got to get, and they were like, our bank worked with us. But there was like this moment where like, we don't have no money in the bank and a check bounce. We're like, what the hell? So like then we drove around to all the different places that owed us money and went from like check bouncing to like up 50 or 60 at a time. And it was just like, it was a scary moment, but luckily like a bunch of people owed us. But do you ever, I mean, rounding up the money is tough. That's the point I'm making.
Is it tough?
It can be, but it doesn't have to be. I think there's probably stuff on our end we could do to make it easier too, that we don't do. We're just old school but do you don't ever have trouble rounding up the money?
Depends. Again, it depends what situation they're in. If they lost their job, what caused them not to pay rent. But for the most part, no. I mean, not for the most part.
Yeah.
I might file evictions maybe 3 or 4 times a year, if even that. Again, it just depends on their circumstances.
Right.
But when they're Section 8, rarely do you ever have trouble rounding up your money. Rarely.
Right. Is eviction tough, or do you just approach it with the same mindset? Like I have to get rid of them in order to like keep my peace, and
basically,
yeah. And so that's how you process that. You're like, oh well, if they're not doing right, I can't keep doing this.
Well, my thing is that I don't evict just the first time that they make a mistake.
Right.
You usually have to give them lease violations. You talk to them. You all try to work it out. If it doesn't work out, my thing is 99.9% of it is communication.
Right.
If you just communicate, it will fix almost every single problem out there for the most part. If you get yourself in a bind, hey, let's talk about this. Sign a promissory note. I'll add that month's rent to the next 4 or 5 months, as long as you have a good payment history with me. So yeah, you have to work with people as well.
Right.
And I trust someone until they give me a reason not to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And it's all about how you approach me as well. That matters a lot too.
Yeah, like the attitude of how they come about it is probably important.
It's very important sometimes.
I understand that. So we talked about interest rates earlier. Is there any chance, do you see them going down anytime soon? Aren't they high right now, right?
I'm going to say they're high, but I mean, I would still see them hopefully possibly going down here in the next 3 or 4 months.
Right.
At least that's the talk.
So have they gone? They have gone up though, right?
Not that I know of.
Since,
I mean, they're staying about
during COVID.
During COVID, yes.
Pre-COVID,
yes,
they were here, and then they went up. And are they going down since then? Or are they steady with kind of
They're steady. To me, they're steady.
But you feel like they're going to go. You feel like they'll go back down.
Word is that yes, sir. They're supposed to go down. They are supposed to go down. Yes,
that would be good. And then that'll make it easier for people to buy houses, right? Because then they won't be adding on that extra chunk that goes every single month.
Right.
Oh man.
But even then, I mean, you still have insurance and property taxes.
Right.
Those, I think, to me are harder.
Oh, man. We have a lot of land. Property taxes.
Yeah, they're killing us on Texas side.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, we have luckily we have cows and stuff. Like the cows don't even make the cows just help us with like the tax exemption. Yeah, so you almost like you have to keep the cows in order to make it make sense. Land. Yeah, exactly. We couldn't have the land without the cows.
Right.
Which is wild. Yep. But we have some land in Arkansas, we have some land in Texas, and they all have cows on them because with tractors and cows and all that. Yeah. That's the only
Which Arkansas taxes are a whole lot better than Texas.
Yeah. So my dad has a good little a decent little farm out in Arkansas, so that's cool. Let's see if I can. What's one thing about real estate that you wish kids actually taught? That wish that kids got taught in school?
The importance of starting at an early age, building credit. Right. For example, you can be 16 years old and you can be a signer on your parents' credit card. That's what I did for my son. I have a credit card. 16. I added him when he was 16, got a job, and he's doing really, really good right now. That's one thing that I wish they would explain to kids. Yeah, I didn't know what credit was until I was like 22, and I was like, I know, right? I should probably think about this. Exactly. And then I was like, well, luckily I hadn't like damaged it. My buddy, we do a show together on the same channel, and he was like, yeah, my mom took out DirecTV in my name when I was 17 or something, and then she stopped paying it, and I was like, yeah, that's not how you get credit. Yeah. And so it was destroyed as soon as he was an adult. He had a bad credit score right off the jump from something. So I mean, in that's kind of relate to what you're talking about earlier. He could be a great guy,
just like a bad mom.
Yeah.
Like a bad circumstance. Yeah.
Now, I see a lot of kids at 16, they get a car, and I'm like, well, why don't you just give them that $2,000, get them a secured credit card, and let them work on their own credit? That way, by the time that they're 18 and graduate, they can buy their first car. Or at least they can buy their first home by the age of 20 because they've got some credit, already. But a lot of people don't think like that.
So if you have no credit, let's say you don't get no credit cards, you don't do none of that, you have, even if you have like 20% down, you're ready to buy a house. What happens if you haven't really done any type of credit stuff and you want to buy a house at that point?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can still buy a house. I haven't had one of those situations yet. But I mean, you can still buy a house. Again, it just depends on what your credit looks like. And that's where your lender comes in. And they say, well, based on your credit score and what your credit looks like, this is how much you'll have to put down on the down payment, or this is what you need to work on. Those are really just the scenarios that I've been a part of.
Right. What do you think your credit score is if you don't like, let's say you're 20 and you just realize somebody just told you about credit for the first time, and you don't have nothing to your name. What is your credit score there? Do you know? Like, is it like 600s or like?
No, I mean, I've seen 550s, 520s.
550s for nothing, just nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
I've seen some as low as 480.
Oh, wow.
And there's
just
nothing on there.
Nothing there. Okay.
Nothing
that was a
on
good
there.
question.
Nothing.
Because I was very curious about that.
I've seen different things.
Yeah. Here's my thing about credit. This is just my big complaint about credit, is that the government, I'll look at my camera, the government gives us a credit score and they're terrible with money.
Yes, they are. I do agree.
That makes zero sense.
I do agree.
If our government had a credit score and never passed the audit ever, it's not since like World War II.
Right.
Why do we personally have this credit score that determines if we can have a house or car or not? And they don't have no credit score.
I agree. Yep,
That's very frustrating. But
someone needs to change that.
Yeah, but we'll just put that on the complaint list that will do nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
What is the best way to figure out how much my house is worth?
Comps.
Comps.
I will do comps in the area to see what the houses in that
comparison?
Comparables.
Comparables.
So I will look and see what other houses in your area. I'll just give you an example. You don't have to hold me to this, but I'm going to look, let's say within a 10-mile radius, 20-mile radius, and see what the house is sold in that area for. Close to, is yours a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath? Things like that.
Right.
And determine from there. But I always highly suggest that you hire an appraiser for that instead.
Okay, an appraiser. Let's talk about
An appraiser is someone that will go out there and determine what your house is actually worth.
Okay.
It does cost money, but it's more worth it.
Right. And they'll give you a better deal. Because, okay, so let's say I want to sell this right now, like this deal. I could just put it on the market and say, I want this amount of money. And it could just be a number I pulled out of my ass. But it would be better. You're saying I should go find somebody to come look at it and be like, no, this is a piece of crap. This is what you need to,
Yeah, I would look at it. Yeah, this is a house, but it's also maybe possibly could be commercial. Let me just get an appraiser right here for his. That's exactly what all he's done is nothing but learn how to appraise homes. And does that have anything to do with the person that does inspections, or they come have it inspected and then, or I mean, he's basically inspecting it, right? Oh yeah, he's inspecting it. He'll take pictures. He'll do almost the same thing that we do, but he's a licensed appraiser. Right. So if you hire an appraiser, do you still have to get an inspection? No, you don't have to get an inspection. I still strongly recommend him though. Right. And so that would be another person. Yes, that'd be another person. Okay, cool. Yes. Cool. Right. Okay. So find an appraiser. He's going to tell you what it's actually, or closer to what it's actually worth, so you can have a better asking price. Yes. Either way, if you go through a bank, you're still going to get an appraiser on it. So why not? They're going to send their own one? Oh, yes, they send their own one. Yeah, because they're not going to give you. So if you want 50,000 and it isn't appraised, but for 30, I mean, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Okay. No. So I always strongly suggest that you get an appraisal on it, and you don't have to do it. I do it on my properties. If I get an appraiser, does the bank still send one? Yes. Okay, so then what if the numbers are different? What happens then? You let them hash it out. Oh yeah, let them fight. Yes, you let them. Yes, I've only had one in 10 years, and it was very interesting. Yes. Yeah, it was very interesting. It was a throwdown. No, not necessarily. I mean, but they met in the middle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so it was like 10, 20, and they went 15 or something. They met in the middle. Yeah. They met in the middle. Yes. That's cool. Okay, so that's how you would figure that out. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, can you give me? We'll go ahead and start winding it down. I want to hear. Give it like a couple stories. Just some wild property management stories. Wild property management, like things that have happened to me. Yeah. That you walked in, or this happened. You were like, I wasn't expecting this. What is this? here lately, within the last 6 months, I've had a guy almost blow off the door to the front door off in his recliner right there, smoking some weed and oxygen tanks right here.
Oh no.
Right here. And I walk in the door and I was doing an inspection and boom. And the door.
Wait, you were there?
I was there doing an inspection in the kitchen. And I had already given him a violation prior to that. And I had told him, you cannot do this.
You can't smoke weed by your oxygen tank.
I didn't say you can smoke weed. I said you cannot be smoking near the oxygen tanks. And that big boom, and I'm going to leave it at that. I see the other one, the incident where I told you they would open the door and throw the bacon grease or whatever out there on the steps, and that was the accident that I was telling you happened.
Oh, wow.
The other one, I do not do personal checks anymore. I don't do cash, nothing like that. I've had fake money. Yes, I take money orders. I've had somebody swear up and down that they paid their rent, looked at the cameras. They stick the money back in their hand, back inside the drop box, take out the money orders. Took me about 3 weeks after we had to pay Western Union $35 to see who had cashed it. And they cashed it themselves. After they swore up and down, had a copy of the money order stub. Crazy stuff like that.
Most people have it pulled from like their bank account? Or do they have it like a check, or how are people?
You can go to your bank and get money orders from the banks. But like other ones go to like the Easy Marts or Walmarts and get money orders from there.
But do you have to pay in a money order? How does
I require you to pay by money order or cash or check only. I do not accept cash.
Money order.
I do not take cash, and I do not accept personal checks.
Don't accept. Okay.
No.
Can you? What is? I don't know. I've never used a money order. So what is the difference? What is a
money orders can be traceable.
Okay.
So let's say something happens, and with as many rental properties as we manage, you end up losing it, and you have your money order stub. You could always trace it, and you can see who cashed it. If it was a mistake on our end, which that hasn't happened yet, we've always been able to find them. Or if, like this incident, where they put their money back in the drop box, took it out, cashed it themselves, and it took us 3 weeks to find out. No, that's a good thing. Cashier's check, same thing. Cashier's check, for the most part, do come out of your bank account. So that's the difference.
I feel like my rent, when I owned a building, I feel like it came out of my, out of my accounts.
You probably had it set up to where it could.
Like a direct deposit.
Yes, I don't do all that.
But you don't do that?
No.
What do you think's the downside of that?
A lot of things.
A lot of things?
Yes. I mean, what if you use the money by that time while it's on hold, waiting 3 or 4 days for it to go through, and you use the money and there you go, you have an NSF. Or like you said, a hot check. Or just...
What's the NSF?
A hot check.
Okay.
Yeah, non-sufficient funds.
Non-sufficient funds. Oh, you hate to see that.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that?
He's like, I don't want to see that.
No. You got any more wild stories? That's crazy. The oxygen tank is crazy. And you being there is crazy. It's one thing for him to on his spare time blow his door off, but do that while you're in there. It's absolutely wild.
And like I said, I've been in there several times, and I said he had gotten written up for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Your oxygen tank is right there, and you are on oxygen, and
it seems like a bad idea in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, that to me was probably the wildest one. I'm like, what if that would happen? What if the place would have blown up?
Yeah.
It would have been really bad. And I'm in the house.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the wildest ones. I don't really have very much wild stuff like that go on.
Good.
To be honest. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank God. Yes.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I can't think of any more questions. Is there anything else you think I should know about real estate? Last chance to educate me one last time.
It's a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
Real estate to me, it doesn't depreciate. Investment properties are a really good thing. It's a good thing.
Right.
It's good for retirement, to put your kids through college. Real estate would be something that I would definitely do before I did stocks and everything else. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah, because stocks
earlier in age.
Yeah, that's probably a way more consistent deal than stocks, because the stocks, especially nowadays, they'll just one day they wake up and it's like, oh, the stock's lost 20 million or something. You're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, but rental properties, investments, residential, a home, that's always a really good investment.
Right.
Yes.
I've always thought about getting into something like that.
Yep, you should. And Texarkana, I said it's a really good place to get into it as well.
Yeah. One last question. I just thought about this. I've always heard tell of them, like the houses that go up, and you go to the courthouse or something for those days, and you see the houses that got
repoed.
Yeah. Is that something? Is that real? What is that?
It is real, but I don't ever buy them from there.
Okay,
there's so many people out there bidding on them. It's a hit and miss.
Right.
And I don't buy very much off of MLS either. It's mainly your contacts.
MLS, yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I don't buy very much of MLS. I don't think I've ever really found anything on MLS that I would buy myself.
What does that stand for again?
Multiple listing service.
MLS. So is that
that's what as realtors use?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is something like
so
Zillow or something like that? What is that? What
I mean, there are places that you list, your homes at as well, but MLS is what your realtor would use to put your home out there for
right. Okay.
to get exposure. Yeah, basically. But mine, I mean, I'm still old school. I look up tax records. I drive by. I look for homes. Contacts is your biggest thing. Who you know.
Yeah.
That can tell you, hey, I saw a house vacant over here. That's usually what I do. Old school stuff.
Yeah, old school.
Old school. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working.
It works.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, huh?
Exactly.
Well, I thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a good time. I'm out of questions.
Thank you for having me.
I definitely appreciate you. It's been a lot of fun. Right. Any plugs? Any follow me here?
Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook.
There you have it.
I'm not on Instagram very much. I'm on TikTok, but Facebook is my biggest social media place to be on.
There you have it.
Yes, sir.
Paloma, Quintana.
Quintana.
I was very tempted to say Quintana. Quintana. There you have it. Thank you so much. For the listeners, if you're on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. It helps me out a whole bunch. If you're on Spotify, listen to the audio version or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to the whole episode, please give me a 5-star rating. That really helps. The more 5-star ratings I get, the more people get to hear me. Also, go over to the Patreon, Joe Teel Podcast on Patreon. Extra episodes, longer episodes, less edited episodes where there's a little bit more uncensored if that's what you like. There you have it. Thank you for listening. We definitely appreciate you, and we'll be back next week. Thank you for being on one more time. And we're out. Thank you.